Mr. Maag is not able to be with us tonight due to illness, he did provide prepared remarks, which I will read. Dear members of the Mason Area Chamber and business community, I sincerely apologize for being unable to attend this forum tonight. I caught a bug while going door to door over the weekend. I hope to be restored and back on the campaign trail this weekend. The question is about what I offer to you and Warren County. I offer a different voice from our current commission. In the last 4 years, our commissioners have answered the issues facing our community by raising taxes. This includes sales tax, use taxes, and lodging taxes. In order to attempt to compensate for these tax hikes, the commissioners cut voter-approved monies in the form of the Developmental Disabilities Funds. The timing of the Developmental Disabilities cuts tells you all you need to know. The commissioners did it with a wink and a nod immediately after raising your taxes in other areas. Don't you think that if the narrative that they crafted about being able to cut developmental disabilities was true, that they could have cut the agency months or years before? They only cut developmental disabilities immediately in nearly the same breath that they raised other taxes. In essence, the commissioners told you, the voters, that you don't know how to spend your money, but they do. You wouldn't know that this is a Republican county by the way they manage projects and issues. In contrast, I offer a voice of reason to advocate against tax increases. I won't cut deals to be a token no vote, and I won't sit idly by. I will hold our commission accountable to you each and every day. I offer my background as being named a watchdog of the Treasury and a defender of freedom during my time representing the good people of Warren County. As a state legislator, I have contributed to the creation of hundreds of thousands of jobs in Ohio, which has led our entire state, not just Warren County, to a low unemployment rate. Imagine my disappointment to be a conservative leader in Columbus, to come back here to Warren County as our commissioners raise taxes that voters did not approve and cut funds that voters did approve. I offer a perspective that will be good for business. We will work to address workforce development, and we will seek ways to reduce the taxes that our current commissioners imposed on Warren County's businesses and families. This job is not a means for me to place my name on a new building. This job is not a means for me to pad my retirement. I'm already retired. I come to you as the only true conservative with a pure agenda of returning us to common sense leadership. Thank you, Ron Maag. Again, those were the prepared remarks from Mr. Maag. He submitted due to his not being able to be here in person. With that, we'll move to Mr. Grossmann for his opening remarks. 3 minutes, sir.
Well, that's going to change slightly with that, what I just heard. But I would say this. We're the fiscal officers of the county. I am a current county commissioner. I'm the president of the commission. When you look at our fiscal responsibilities, there's an objective measurement for how successful we are. One, we did cut real estate taxes in Warren County in 2017 by $9.5 million, which will continue every single year henceforth. Second, we controlled spending in our county, despite the fact that apparently we're not conservative enough. We controlled spending so that we had a surplus. We had at the end a balance of $30.4 million in our bank account in cash at the end of 2017. In addition, we only have debt of around $4.5 million, and as a result of our conservative policies and the policies that I led this commission on as its president, our bond rating was raised by Moody's Investors Service to a AAA rating, which is the highest rating that we've ever received. It's the highest rating you can receive, and only 2 other counties in Ohio have that rating. I'm going to talk just for a minute about the claim that we raised taxes on Warren County residents, which is not true. So I'm expecting that we're going to see some negative ads from him on this, but it's not true that we raised taxes. Now, first off, he talked about commissions or commissioners, but he didn't talk about me. It's true that my fellow commissioners voted to raise the sales tax by 0.5 percentage point. I voted against it. The reason they did that was they wanted to find a way to finance the new jail. We had a lot of argument about it. We're still arguing about it to find a way to reduce that. But it's not true that I voted to raise that. In fact, I wanted to find another way. So that the idea that we raise taxes is not true. I didn't do that. Next, he is referring to the lodgings tax, which is actually not a tax on Warren County residents. I was very skeptical about the lodging tax increase that they wanted. The reason for the lodging tax increase was because of, and by the way, that's not paid by Warren County residents. It's paid by people that are outside Warren County when they come into a hotel or motel. Unless a lot of you are going to hotels and motels in Warren County, you're not paying this. But the reason why it was raised was because practically every single hotel in Warren County, every single motel and hotel wanted it to be raised. They're the ones, so they basically were all uniformly asking that that tax be raised, that they then effectively pay as a pass-through. And the reason for that was for the Warren County Sports Complex, which is going to bring in revenue of $54 million a year and increase jobs by 730 a year. So that's what was going on with that, and that's why it was done, and the Convention and Visitors Bureau was a huge advocate of that. All of our public officials were huge advocates, and that's why that was done. So I kind of went off the script there a little bit, but it's not true that we raised taxes on Warren County. That didn't happen. Do I have time still, or am I done?
No, that was...
Okay, so I'm out. And so I'm sorry that Mr. Maag says that I did that, but that's not the case.
Thank you. Mr. Grossmann, what is your position on startups or new growth paving the way for other businesses or industries coming to Warren County?
Well, of course, we're all for that. And in fact, when I was Mason mayor and in Mason, we developed property and put in and invested in a project for startups and for high-tech company startups. So we believe in that. I want to encourage all small business and other business development, both large and small. And in fact, in Warren County, we are trying to have a county that has the amenities, the infrastructure, the low taxation, the kind of, the schools, so that we bring in both large and small companies. And in fact, over the last year, we've had tremendous success at building business in Warren County. You've had Procter & Gamble coming in with a huge new facility with more than 1,500 new employees. You have Festo and I've got 10 seconds, so I can't talk about the dozen other companies that have come in as a result of the facilitation for those companies made by Warren County and other jurisdictions in Warren County. Thank you.
Moving on to our next question. Mr. Grossmann, why would a business person support your election to this office? We're going to give you 30 seconds to respond to this question.
30 seconds?
30 seconds, sir.
Oh, boy. I'm a business owner and business lawyer. I understand and run businesses. I want to facilitate businesses. I've demonstrated the ability to do that in my 14 years in public office, where I brought into and helped bring into Warren County companies that I personally am involved with, like Festo, Amazon, Hayneedle, Cadent, Green Bay Packaging. I've been very, very pro-business. I guess I've got my 30 seconds
If
is
you
gone
want
already.
another 15 seconds, I'll grant it to you.
Okay. Well, we've attracted businesses because our real estate taxes, for example, are one of the lowest in the state. We're only 25% of the real estate taxes in Montgomery County, 35% or 33% of the taxes in Hamilton County. So we have very low taxes. Okay, there you go.
We'll move on to our next question. Mr. Grossmann, marijuana legalization has been a big issue in Ohio in recent years. Where do you stand on that issue, both for medical and recreational use?
Well, I'm opposed to the legalization of marijuana for any usage, either recreational or medical. The medical marijuana claim it's an oxymoron, it's a misnomer. The FDA has specifically and repeatedly said that marijuana has no medical benefit, is dangerous to prescribe, and is highly subject to abuse. The FDA and the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research are the nation's experts on drugs. If you want to have a medicine, you must prove it through the FDA to have medical purpose. There are 400 active ingredients in marijuana. There are 2 drugs that are currently approved by the FDA for treatment of cancer, nausea, and loss of appetite. There's a 3rd drug called Epidiolex that GW Pharmaceuticals has in stage 3 clinical trials for treatment of juvenile epileptic seizures. That's the process you go through. You don't violate the Federal Controlled Substances Act. Marijuana is a controlled substance that's illegal under that act. Ohio's law is bad public policy, bad law, it's bad medicine, it's bad science. Can I have 15 more seconds on that one?
No, we'll have some time in the closing arguments.
Okay, that's fine.
What do you think residents in your district are looking for from their county commissioners?
Well, I think they're looking for commissioners who perform their function at the highest possible level. I think they're looking for commissioners who look for ways to keep taxes low, keep quality services high. For example, when I was on Mason Council, I authored the largest tax cut in Mason history. So far, the citizens of Mason have benefited by that income tax reduction to the tune of savings of $25.4 million. In addition, I cut real estate taxes in Mason. They've benefited by $5 million. We've cut real estate taxes in Warren County. I've saved taxpayers in Warren County $40 million. And our revenue in Mason, after we did those tax cuts, went up 65%. Our services did not go down. We had better provision of services, and we're doing that in Warren County too, the very same thing. We're increasing tax revenue, we're providing better services, and we're cutting taxes. Mr. Maag is wrong. We're not raising them. I certainly didn't do that. And we're having better services. And I expect, we're Republican County, so I know that we're going to be conservative. I am conservative, and I've been conservative my whole life, not just when I became a politician. And I'll talk about that later when I have more time.
Perhaps he could use his time.
Can I have his time? Is that possible? I would give his rebuttal to these things, too.
I'm sure his case would be well pled.
I'm,
What would your top priority be if elected in the next term?
well, we don't have top priorities, but there are some things that we have to accomplish that have some urgency to them. And you have to understand, we're a creature of state law. I'm going to run out before I can even answer this question. So we have to do everything that state law requires. But we have a new jail because we're releasing prisoners early. We're expanding the jail to have 485 beds minimum. It's currently 280. That's a very important project. It's expensive. That's what's related to the sales tax increase, was to pay for that. I'm trying to find another way to pay for it by controlling spending and creating surpluses. That was my idea. But in any event, that's a big important part of the things that we have to do. A next thing that we always have to do is to promote business and residential, and well, we have to have balanced residential and commercial growth. So I have been very active in trying to do that because we need the jobs that are created by good businesses, and we need the residents that are created by good residential development. Have I run out of time already? Okay, or am I getting grace now? I don't know.
You just used it all. Sorry.
Because when you flashed up that little thing on me, you're getting me.
I have good news for you, Mr. Grossman. That was our last question, and normally we would be giving candidates a 2-minute rebuttal. We've expanded that to give you 3 minutes for a rebuttal, not a rebuttal, for a closing statement.
Okay.
So there's an extra minute in there for you.
Let me present this to you all. Look, I went to Miami University, graduated with a political science degree, and graduated summa cum laude. I then went to the University of Cincinnati College of Law, graduating with highest honors from the College of Law, third in my class. But I wasn't just interested in being a good lawyer. Yeah, I became a clerk for a federal judge. I went and worked for the top law firm in Cincinnati, Tassitinius and Hollister, for 27 years, became the assistant general counsel to Italy's largest international company. I worked in business. I was serious about business and being a good lawyer and working at the top of my field, but I also cared about conservative policy and principles. So when I was in college, I went to Ken Blackwell, who was a city council member, and I started writing legislation, conservative legislation for Ken, and I was walked shoulder to shoulder with Ken ever since then. I also then, when I got out of law school, formed the Federalist Society. It was formed in 1982 in the University of Chicago. Justice Scalia was the first advisor. Justice Bork was another advisor. I formed the chapter here in Cincinnati, was its president for multiple years. I believe in the original intent of our U.S. Constitution. I defend the U.S. Constitution as originally written, not as reinterpreted by liberal jurists. I have also had a heart for homeschooling and for school choice. I became the legal counsel for the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. I didn't get any money for doing that. I became an advocate for adoption. I worked in the pro-life community. I bought 300 books from the Wilkies, their handbook on abortion. Barbara Wilkie called me up. She wondered what college student and law school student wanted 300 of her books. Well, it was me. I handed out every one of those books during 1980 in the Reagan campaign to get him to be president. I then worked in the pro-life community. I worked hard. I became a board member, an advisory board member for a rape and a pregnancy crisis center. I proceeded, after that, I proceeded to support every conservative candidate I could. I became the chairman of the Warren County Republican Party. I tried to bring our party together with conservative candidates, but also honoring the past too, and honoring people who supported our party, supported our principles, and supported our president and our candidates. There were times, because in Warren County we've got Democrats who faked themselves in as Republicans because they only elect Republicans. I had to kick them out of the party. When there was one famous person who was supporting Kerry in 2004, I had to tell her, you can't be a Republican if you're supporting the Democrat. But the fact of the matter is this. Throughout, I've had a consistent record as a social and a fiscal conservative. I've always been opposed to raising taxes. I always choose to control spending first, to cut debt, to have good and close budgets. That's what I did in Mason. I never raised any taxes in Mason. I lowered them repeatedly. And I got my time is up, but that's the facts. And the fact is, if Ron Maag wants to call me out on something, I want to run a positive campaign, not a negative campaign. I honor Ron. Ron is a conservative. His co-sponsorship of marijuana, dead wrong. It's a bad policy. Shouldn't have done that. I don't know why he did that. I'd like to have talked to him about that tonight, why he thought that marijuana should be legal. But I believe in
Go
our
ahead,
families.
conclude.
I believe that we want to make the best community that we can in Warren County to raise a family, to have a business, and to have the best county in this country. Thank you.
Thank you.